Life in prison for those who kidnapped and trafficked Joshlin Smith. But where is she?
We are looking for Fezile Ngubane and Philage Nkosi Sibongo Kuhle Makhanya. The pair is considered to be dangerous.
Looking for those responsible for killing Olorato Mongale and markets like the targeted strike at Donald Trump's tariffs. Hello, I'm Jane Dutton.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent.
Joshlin Smith's traffickers have been handed life sentences for the disappearance of the child. Presiding Judge Nathan Erasmus handed down the sentences in a packed White City multipurpose centre in Saldanha Bay. Erasmus imposed life sentences for the human trafficking charge and 10 years for the kidnapping of Joshlin.
On the human trafficking charge, you are sentenced to life imprisonment. On the kidnapping charge, you are sentenced to 10 years imprisonment. Because I've imposed life imprisonment, there is no need for me to rule on the concurrency of the sentences, because by operation of law, it will be served concurrently. Mr. Paulus, do you understand? Mr. Van Rijn, do you understand? Ms. Smith, do you understand? Thank you. You may be seated. I'm also ordinary for the entry of your names into the National Child Protection Register. The court ledger.
All right. Now we must find out what happened to Joshlin and if she is still alive.
We will not rest until we find what happened to Joshlin. We are continuing day and night looking for Joshlin, and we're still appealing to everybody that let's work together to find the missing child and all other missing child out there that have not had the opportunity to be heard, to have case brought forward like today.
But she did something wrong, so she must deal with the consequences.
The murdered journalist Olorato Mongale has been celebrated and remembered today. Police have found the vehicle that was allegedly used in the murder of Mongale. Officers say the white VW Polo was seized from a panel beater workshop in Phoenix, Durban, with traces of blood. One man believed to be the owner of the vehicle has been arrested, while police are searching for two others suspected to be directly involved in the murder. Mongale was picked up in a white VW Polo from her home in Athol on Sunday by a man she recently met. They were going out on a date, but hours later, Mongale was found murdered and a body dumped in Lombardy West in Johannesburg.
Today is about Olorato Mongale's life and the mark she left on everyone who knew her. Friends, including those who spoke to her hours before she was killed, described her as bold, brilliant and unapologetically herself. Video messages and written tributes have painted a portrait of a trailblazer who laughed with her whole body and never showed up half-hearted.
She started to educate me about the importance of feminism and the importance of dismantling gender norms.
And I just want to thank her and thank Mama Bobby for bringing up such an amazing and empathetic person.
Witty, bold, and always unforgettable from the start.
She was nearly done completing her master's studies in journalism. Her friends say her energy lingered long after she left the room, her laughter, her presence, and her purpose impossible to ignore. And while the hunt for her killers continues, her loved ones say today is about reclaiming her story from the horror that stole it. Mungi Zikoko, Eyewitness News, Bloemfontein.
The latest name to emerge as suspect is Bongani Mtinkulu, a friend of Philan Kengosi Makhanya, who was already being sought in connection with the case. Consumers are in for some reprieve on their debt repayments. The benchmark repo rate drops to its lowest since January 2023 with a 25 basis point cut. This means commercial banks will borrow from a rate of 7.25% from the central bank, while consumers will borrow from a rate of 10.75% from commercial banks. Governor Lesetja Kganyago said that the central bank had revised down its inflation forecasts, reflecting the lower starting point as well as a stronger exchange rate assumption and lower world oil prices.
Moving to prices, inflation was below 3% again in April. The undershoot of the target mainly reflects falling fuel costs, but underlying inflation is also well contained. Core inflation came in at 3% at the bottom of our target range. Against this backdrop, the MPC decided to reduce the policy rate by 25 basis points with effect from the 30th of May.
The EFF has filed an urgent court application seeking to suspend the increase in the fuel levy. In his budget speech last week, Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana announced the hike would take effect on the 4th of next month. In its papers filed in the Western Cape High Court, the EFF says the Finance Minister does not have the powers to unilaterally increase taxes or levies without consent from Parliament. The EFF says after the public hearings, the Standing Committee on Finance must produce a final report which it will present to Godongwana. The Gauteng Health Department says it has activated contingency measures in a bid to ensure that public health facilities are not impacted by Rand Water's infrastructure maintenance. The water utility has today begun its planned maintenance, set to last until Monday next week. Residents have been warned that several areas in the Tshwane, Joburg and Ekurhuleni metros will experience low pressure to zero running water.
As part of these measures, most of our facilities, if they're a clinic, they'll have a Jojo tank. In hospitals, they will have boreholes and reservoirs that can at least supply or store water for a couple of days. We have also put in other measures to augment that supply through sourcing additional water supply.
A crucial link in Cape Town's Central Rail network comes online today. The Central Line has been dormant since November 2019 due to widespread theft and vandalism.
Cape Town Central Line is considered the backbone of public transport in the Western Cape, ferrying more than 500,000 train commuters when operating at its peak. Cape Town Mayor Jordan Hill-Lewis says normal resumption of train services will be beneficial for all Cape Townians.
At the moment, it's costing you more than 40 Rand to use a minibus taxi to go to town. This is going to bring the cost for every resident of Khayelitsha down significantly.
PRASA says full train services on the line will resume as soon as the 3 remaining train stations are reopened in a few months' time. Ndutuzelo Nene, Eyewitness News, inside a train from Khayelitsha to Cape Town.
Some opposition parties in Tshwane have rejected the budget, saying it'll heap more pressure on already overburdened taxpayers. The capital's 2025-26 budget has been up for a vote today before the Tshwane Council. Among its many features, the budget includes double-digit tariff hikes for electricity and water. It also introduces a new tariff called city cleansing. The ANC-led multi-party coalition government is hailing the budget as the city's first fully funded one since 2021.
It is not clear what this cleansing levy will be used for. If you ask the mayoral committee, their response is that it is used for waste dumping sites. But private waste collectors already pay when using dumping grounds. So are we now double charging residents who make use of private waste collectors?
The 52% of ratepayers that paid nothing of their rates accounts to the city in 2023 already will grow exponentially on the back of this budget. This budget is not the budget that will rescue the city. Hear my words. This budget is a budget that will finally break us. Thank you.
Zulu King Misi Zulu's uncle, Prince Mbonisi Zulu, is disputing the title of King Misi Zulu's mother as the great wife of the royal family. The prince is a respondent in the Supreme Court appeal matter. President Cyril Ramaphosa is seeking to overturn a High Court ruling invalidating his identification of King Misi Zulu.
If the president considered those minutes, the question he would have asked himself is, are these members of the royal family? Because that is the primary question he must ask himself. Are these the members of the royal family with a right to identify an heir? And that's evidence before the president.
Israel has made its biggest move in the occupied West Bank in decades. It's approved 22 new settlements in the occupied West Bank. Settlements there are illegal under international law and are seen as one of the biggest obstacles to a lasting peace between Israelis and Palestinians. This move also comes as more governments are prepared to recognize a Palestinian state. Markets worldwide are responding well to a successful strike against Donald Trump's tariffs. A U.S. federal court has blocked most of the president's sweeping tariffs from going into effect. The opinion marks a significant setback to Trump as he bids to redraw the U.S. trading relationship with the world by forcing governments to the negotiating table through tough new tariffs. Trump's global trade war has roiled financial markets with a stop-start rollout of import levies aimed at punishing economies that sell more to the United States than they buy. Thanks very much for watching. See you for more again tomorrow.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent.